So thank you everybody for joining here today. What we're going to do is we're going to take you through a quick PowerPoint presentation to talk a little bit more about the Dynamicweb 9 update, 8 reasons to upgrade, and then we'll actually go through a live presentation of it. And so Richard Lee, one of our product evangelists here at Dynamicweb, will take us through that presentation. And we'll jump into the PowerPoint for a couple more slides just to talk about how do we do the upgrade, what's the process of requesting that, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So we did make sure that we have plenty of time at the end for questions. So if you want to use those, if you want to ask those questions, sorry, because everyone is on mute, you can go into the questions section of the control panel on your right-hand side, and you can just type that in, and we'll make sure that we get to all the questions before the end of the session. Once the session's over, you will be receiving an email just letting you know where the recording is or can be accessed, so you'll be able to get access to the recording. And if you'd like a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, we can share that as well. So on the docket today, we've got quite a bit of information. We're going to go through some news about Dynamicweb North America. We'll go through the different areas of the solution that have been updated with Dynamicweb 9. We'll talk through the technology, some documentation. We'll actually go through the new version in action. So that's what I talked about. Richard will take us through that. And then we'll go through the upgrade process at the end, and we'll have some time for questions. So first and foremost, the latest news here at Dynamicweb. So we have a new customer success manager. We're going to talk about our dynamic CRM integration, a new webinar series that we're going to be kicking off here this summer, and then user group summit. So the first thing that I want to talk about is actually myself. My name's Ryan Burnham. I'm the new customer success manager here at Dynamicweb, and I didn't want that to seem or sound at all too like I was too full of myself, but I had to put myself first. So I joined Dynamicweb back in April of this year, so it's just about 2 months now that I've been with the team. I've always had the vision that I should do everything possible to help my customers succeed in their endeavors. So that vision coincided pretty much perfectly with Dynamicweb. It also helped that I've spent about 10 years in the e-commerce industry. So the fit was perfect with Dynamicweb because the company's vision is to ensure the success of our customer base. I'm charged with working with our existing customers as the customer success manager to leverage the platform to make it work for you. So we can work together in a sales capacity to evaluate change orders and their value to the business. But more importantly, we can work together to review the platform and ensure a stronger utilization of the features that you already own. It's my job to gain a better understanding of your business and your industry so that we can work together to get smart, measurable goals put in place and gauge the success of the platform in a more objective manner. In recent months, we added to our library of integrations to include the Dynamic CRM or Customer Engagement CE. There's a number of different acronyms, but we've added that integration to our library. Like the rest of our integrations, we integrate using web services to establish endpoints that support an e-commerce experience. Now we can do this as just an integration to Dynamic CRM or Dynamic CE, or it can also be used as a complement to your ERP integration with Dynamics NAV or Dynamics AX or Business Central. And so it can tie in more of a sales and marketing function to the website by having that secondary integration. In the coming months, as part of my role here at Dynamicweb, we're going to be highlighting a new webinar series geared towards you, our existing customers. We understand that there's a number of features that exist within the platform that many customers may not be utilizing to their fullest. So the implementation takes time, we know that, and some features might just fall by the wayside as you're doing the implementation. So we want to make sure that we're highlighting those things that you already own so you can take full advantage of Dynamicweb and what you already own. We'll also be introducing you to a new version, updates as they come out, and discussing the platform roadmap so you can gain a better understanding of the future of the platform and so you can understand where your investment's going. And lastly, as part of our news, the user group summit is coming up here in October. So the date's October 15th to 18th in Orlando, Florida, or Kissimmee, so right around the Orlando area. It's the largest gathering of Microsoft Dynamics users all year. So it's everything from sessions to sponsors like ourselves or ISVs and other good times to be had with the entire industry. We're going to be a gold sponsor there, so you can find our booth on the expo floor. But if you are going to be attending, it'd be great to hear from you. Now on to the main show. So with Dynamic Web 9, there's a number of different areas that we've made changes to, and so I'll talk through all of those as we're going through here in the presentation. The first one that I wanted to highlight is the user interface. So we've made changes to a number of different areas, but really overall, we've completely overhauled the look and feel of the administrator, from dashboards all the way to optimizing the entire experience for tablets. So the first question when you completely overhaul a user interface is, well, why? Well, for one, it was getting a bit old. It was dated. Concepts have been around for a long time, so we wanted to make changes to them. We wanted to modernize it, and we also wanted to make sure that we were simplifying tasks. Now, with that optimization, we wanted to optimize the overall look and feel of it to make sure that it works and it fits on devices like tablets, but that it's also optimized for touchscreens, as I'll talk about here in a couple minutes. We also wanted to make sure it was faster. So we don't want to make it so it takes too long to go through and administer the website. We want to make it easy for you. And we wanted to also utilize the advancements in new browser technology. So we're always trying to keep ahead of the curve there when we're making changes to the site. And so that's what we did here with the administrator in Dynamic Web 9. The first major piece that we touched on was the dashboard and the workspace. So in the dashboard, when you log into Dynamic Web 9, you can see all of your important data in one place. This is fully configurable per user, so you can define your own shortcuts when you're coming on there. And in the top left corner where you see the latest news, you can also see any new versions and updates that are made available to you. So you can keep abreast of any new updates that are coming out from Dynamic Web. We've also completely overhauled the navigation. So you can switch between areas in no time. You can switch between content and e-commerce without having to navigate back anywhere. You don't have to scroll when you're navigating, and you can switch between areas without losing the work that you've been working on. So we know that one of the complaints that we've heard is, when you're working in content or in the CMS and you want to go over to e-commerce and make a change, you have to remember to save everything because you'll lose it if you don't move out. Well, that no longer happens in Dynamic Web 9. You can switch between areas really quickly, really easily, and you don't lose the work that you've been doing. We've completely overhauled the file manager as well. So now you can do uploads with one click just by selecting images. You can drag and drop multiple files and multiple images to bring them into the file manager. And we've integrated image scaling. So that means that you can resize and optimize your images directly inside the platform. And then lastly, for the user interface changes, is we've optimized it for tablets. So it means you can access the content and edit it from anywhere, and you're no longer restricted to just computers and laptops. So you can do it on a tablet, and it is optimized for touchscreens. Now for e-commerce, we've made a few changes to the way that we're managing it in the administrator as well. The first is the new product details page. So overall, we've put everything into one page. So it's a better overview, and it's a lot less complex to go through and work in. It makes it a lot easier for your marketing team to go in and manage all of your product information. You can do it all in one place, and it includes all of your pertinent product information. So you're not having to jump around from screen to screen. For your order details page, we've cleaned it up. It's a much more simple user interface. It's a full view of all of your e-commerce orders, so you can see exactly how the business is doing. And you can just click to view more in-depth details on your orders, as you can see here on screen. Now moving on to digital marketing. Now what we've done in digital marketing is we've added some features that'll make it a lot easier for you to not only personalize the website, but also test the website. And this is some of the features that we're going to be touching on during our webinar series. So you're able to use smart searches to go in and segment your customers. So then you can target them with things like newsletters, but you can also target them using personalization of content. So what you can do is if you know that someone generally looks at the same type of category, the same type of product when they come onto the site, you can actually personalize the homepage content so they're seeing specific content based on certain rules that you're setting in the administrator. You can automate email marketing based on those rules as well. So you can send out personalized emails to them based on some of the content that they're looking at, some of the content that they're consuming on the site. And you can test your content using A/B testing. So you can go in and you can split test a newsletter to see how it's performing. Are you getting more conversion rates with one versus another? You can do that with a page as well. And Dynamic Web is even smart enough that what'll happen is if you see a significant difference in the performance of a certain page that you're split testing, well, Dynamic Web will implement that page for everyone to see if you're seeing a significant number of conversions. So these are some of the tools that we're going to be highlighting during our webinar series, because we know that the digital marketing side is kind of left to the sidelines once the implementation is complete. So we want to make sure that we're highlighting that for you and you're getting the most of what you've invested in. With Dynamic Web 9, we also implemented a brand new product. So this is completely aside from the e-commerce, from the content management. This is the product information management, or the PIM. What this allows you to do in the PIM is really manage all of your product data in one place. And this could be your product data not only for your e-commerce, but it could also be for managing with your trading partners. If you want to push content out to your trading partners who might then distribute your products for you. And you can also publish right to channels from the PIM. So if you want to sell on Amazon, on eBay, or another product feed, you can set that up right out of Dynamic Web. So it can be a JSON, an XML, a CSV. All of that content can be published right from the PIM. All of the content is rich content editing, so you can go in and you can make changes to that content directly in the PIM. You can also import the information if you wanted to. You can do query searching too, so you can actually go in and you can pinpoint, show me exactly what the products are that are missing an image. So it can show you that list. And it's very similar to doing a SQL search in the query searching. So you're able to define what the query looks like and configure how the data is presented to you. And you can also see the visibility of the content readiness. So that means that you can set rules to say, well, if a product is missing a description and an image, we don't want to make it published on the site. We don't want to show it as being publishable. So anything that's missing those content could be below a 50% readiness. And you can define those readiness rules so that you're only making sure that people on your marketing team are publishing content to the site that's ready. Now, I mentioned technology a little bit earlier. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to we wanted to take advantage of the newest technological advancements with the Microsoft stack. So we're utilizing Core FX and ASP.NET Core 1.0 with the latest version of Dynamic Web 9. What that gave us the ability to do as well is implement an easier way to install and update with packages. So for instance, last year, Authorize.net implemented a TLS update. Well, the way we had to do it in the past was we had to go through and we had to make major changes to the platform to update just a payment gateway integration. Well, with Dynamic Web 9, what this allows us to do is we can pinpoint and install an update for that specific package instead of having to fully update the entire platform. And we're able to do this using a deployment tool. So a little bit earlier, I showed you the screenshot of the dashboard where you can see the latest news and you can see the updates that are available. Well, you can actually go through that area, go into the update area of the administrator, and you can deploy a tool. You can deploy an update right from there if there's a decimal update that comes out. So let's say 9.5 or 9.6. And then for ourselves internally, we've also used a deployment tool for deploying any new content or any new custom development that we've done for you. So it makes our jobs a lot easier when working with Dynamic Web 9, but it also makes your world a lot easier. And lastly, before we jump into the demo of the solution, I want to talk about documentation. The documentation portal at doc.dynamicweb.com is really where you're able to see everything you need in one place. You can search through all of the documentation that we've written up. We're continually updating it and maintaining it for you. And you can also look through the forums on that page. So you can see all of the procedures, processes, and outlines of features that you have access to if you ever have a question. So it's a great place to go if you're wondering about a specific feature, specific function. Now I'm done talking for a few minutes. I'm going to hand it over to Richard. And what Richard's going to do is going to take us through a demo of Dynamic Web 9. He'll talk about some of the changes that we've made here with the new version, and he'll take us through how that looks and how you can interact with it. So take it away, Richard.
Thank you so much, Ryan. That was very nice introduction to Dynamic Web 9.0. So let's see, do you see my screen properly?
Yep, we do.
Okay, great, thank you. So this is the back end of Dynamic Web, It's at version 9.6, which is the latest version of the platform on the back end. And as pointed out, our solution is all in one. So similar to version 8, where you had at the bottom left, you have a menu, a very thick, chunky menu. That menu has now been shortened or narrowed, and it's fixed over here on the left side here. So it doesn't take up too much horizontal screen space, and you have at your fingertips the ability to navigate to different sections. And as Ryan painted earlier, you can move and navigate between sections while you're in the middle of something without losing your spot, so that you're not frustrated while using this platform throughout the day. You're able to move from one section to another and resume where you are. Because as you maintain content, files, users, e-commerce, the PIM, and marketing, some sections are related to others. So if I'm updating content and I need files and I didn't upload something, but I'm pretty sure I did, I can navigate and go to files and look for it in more detail and more depth while setting up a page inside of content. So that's why it's one enjoyable feature for 9.x. Now, I just want to show you here when we start off with content that we have built in something that allows you to make changes to the front end very easily. And not only that, but doing so without being an HTML programmer. You can do it yourself as an admin. So let me just show you quickly what those switches are. So in a way, it allows you to configure versus customizing involving programming yourself the layout of the page. So let's say you've determined through Google Analytics that the average resolution of someone coming in is greater than 1,000 pixels. It's more 1280 is the average of the horizontal resolution of your average viewer. Then you could set the resolution of the front end to accommodate those people so that it looks like it's filling in the screen with more information than it being more narrow. Okay, it's a visual effect, and it's something that's part and parcel of today's modern website. And then as we go through things here, I want to show you something that's an easy fix on the front end. So let me just show you an example of the front end over here. And notice that as I scroll the page, the navigation scrolls along with it. It doesn't remain on the top. Also, if I want to search, I hover on search and then I can type in search. But what if I wanted to make search more prominent and I wanted that header to be a little more, to be sticky rather, meaning that it stays at the top? So here in these icon representations of what the homepage may look like, I'm going to choose the icon where, notice how the search bar is prominent. It's fixed to the top. So I click on that to turn it on. I also click on sticky top here to also turn that on. And I do let's say a Control S here to save, go here to the front end, I hit refresh, and notice now search is now fixed at the top. I just have to click inside of it to activate it versus hovering over the search icon, which is, notice is no longer there. And now when I scroll down, the navigation remains in place. That's what we call sticky navigation. So instead of that being lines of code and effort to do so, and maybe involving someone other than the admin tasked with doing this, a content person, they could do it themselves. And this idea of these switches where we make life really easy for the manager or content person, where they don't need to know the hex color, even though the hex color for black is quite easy, but for this color green, it's more specific. We have a color picker inside here. So we try to make it easy and intuitive on how to make these changes that are part of the lifespan of your website, but also not something that typically in other solutions that a non-programmer could do by themselves. And we do that here. And not just on this page here where I went over here under the ellipsis and then I went to edit, but we incorporate elements of this into specific content pages so that, let's say you have a page for blogs. Or actually, let's go to the one for events. Because blogs, we kind of all know what a blog might have, and some of us may know what an event may consist of, right? It has a title and a little short description, and then a longer description, maybe some images. But specifically, since this is an event that may be happening in the future, there's a date and time associated with it. There's a location associated with it. So again, where we have an image, we have the ability to search for it using content. We have the ability to upload it on the fly if you realize you don't have yet uploaded that image. And then elements that are specific to the page are articulated that way. So the banner heading, the banner subheading, the text color for this text. We can, again, it's a color picker. We can choose a different color if we want to. With date and time, instead of inputting the actual date and time, we're choosing it from a picker. So that, again, it's just using your mouse movement and navigating throughout, and just articulating where things go, because events is ultimately something that shows up on the page looking like this, but all those content elements have to coincide with a title and description on the site and where it might be located. So we just make it very easy and intuitive for the admin to make those necessary updates on the website. Okay, and if you wanted to, of course, you can customize a page yourself using these very easy paragraphs, as we call them, and it's also known as a paragraph in HTML, but that's as far as the relationship to HTML as we go. But certainly, if you're a programmer, you can go here to properties, you can go over here to layout, and you can adjust the layout that might be being used, and go here to edit and be able to edit the code yourself right then and there. So we're not, adverse. We're trying to support both audiences of the back end, the more technical person as well as the not so technical, more content-based person. They're capable of doing all that and even much more, including the A/B tests and other forms of tracking are all done inside here. But in the interest of time, let me just move on to other sections as well. So files, what's really awesome about files, in my opinion, is that let's say I upload in bulk a bunch of images. So in bulk would be, let's say if I scroll down to the bottom, I could open up my Explorer, grab a bunch of files and drag and drop them over here. That's really cool. In version 8, it's not that easy, and you can only do one by one unless you're doing FTP. But now once they're uploaded, you're not having to have them uploaded in their perfect state. Let's say you upload them because they're the high-res images, but then for certain campaigns or email campaigns or other activities on the website, you want to have the image to be a little smaller. So take a look here. Here's an image. It's 7,000 by 5,000 pixels. Great for a high-res image if it's called for, but not so great for an email message where it's going out to mostly people's phones and it'll be arriving at its 13.3 megabyte size. So if you right-click and go to edit, you could actually resize within the platform itself and saving you time so you don't have to go into Photoshop, do it inside there, and then re-upload it and all that effort around just to resize it. You can do it within the platform. So the concept of all-in-one, as we call ourselves, is even further down to within resizing images as well. And notice if I go back here to content, I'm right where I left off with maybe trying to adjust something in the About Us page here. And if I return to files, I'm also right where I left off, including having the menu open as well. So we know that, 2 seconds here, 3 seconds there within the platform, it all adds up. And if you're not frustrated in that experience, it's going to be, a better day for all of us in our work days. So let's move on over here under users. Users is, one half of this is really just the front end users, your customers, as well as the back-end users, your administrators of various sorts with different roles. So they could be read-only, they could be having access to specific areas of the system. So that's all in, let's see here, under permissions, let me give you the example. So I can pick the type of administrator or by name, the name of the person. I could group them, and then that group could be assigned read and write access accordingly to those people. But what I particularly enjoy about the user section, and maybe you guys will as well, is a smart search. And this is a user smart search. So it means that I can basically create a type of living query that automatically looks at customers based on these rules that I add here in the middle. So let's say I have two of these set up already, and let's just explain what they are. So let's say I want to find all the customers that are shipping to Detroit and have bought a specific product. And if I say that these two must apply, then it looks upon, when I first set this up, all the customers, so let's say 500 customers, and it looks and sees who's shipping to Detroit and who is buying these specific product or products. And in doing so, I can identify those people. So let's say I'm B2C and I'm going to have a pop-up shop in the most dense area where I have the most people buying, or I'm a B2B and I'm just looking to see like, okay, these are our customers buying in this area. So maybe that's where the first dealership should show up, is in that area. So it's a way of identifying customers either from this behavior, or you're using this content and information, this grouping of people, in order to deliver them a targeted email marketing message. So back here in content, these are not just content pages that you can support on your website, but if you look over here in the newsletter, these are also pages that you can create in order to send by email through Dynamicweb to users that you're targeting using the user smart search. And I just want to show you here that, let's say I add another rule, but let me show you where these rules are. So user information. This is if you're connected to an ERP or a CRM, where this information comes from. So that means that your marketing person, by themselves, without relying on an ERP or CRM analyst to dig out this information for them, they can do this on their own. And if you think about this, this is not something that MailChimp, Constant Contact, or Click Dimensions can do, because it's not fully deeply integrated into the e-commerce system, or maybe the ERP system. It may not know, it may have access to certain things, but I'll tell you where it doesn't have access to, which is going to be super powerful, which is, did they show up on Christmas Day? Did they visit a certain page? Did they view a product? They didn't even put it in the cart. They didn't even buy it. So this is stuff and information that Google Analytics might have access to, but the problem with Google Analytics is that it doesn't show us who the customer is by their name, by their email address, what company they're from. But because Dynamicweb is tracking all this information, and again, this is filtering out the customers who have already exhibited this behavior, and this is built in, this is what's quite powerful about our solution. So if I want to say that, they're buying this product, but let's say there's a accessory for that product that they're not getting. So let's say bought a product and the condition is not, meaning that it's not true that they bought an accessory or a typical add-on for this product. So it means that I've identified, let's say they don't have to live in Detroit or ship to Detroit, but I'm identifying people who are exhibiting a certain pattern that I know is an opportunity for us to make money, to take money that's sitting on the table, and maybe not all of it, but 30% of it we can put in our pockets by sending this particular email to these particular people, the people who are buying this tractor but are not buying this extended warranty. And there's an opportunity to send that email that says, hey, you bought this tractor 6 months from now, the built-in warranty is about to expire. We offer this extended warranty for X dollars, buy in the next 30 days, and we'll give it to you for 10% less. Something to that effect. You can even include a promo code if you wish. So that's what our user smart search is capable of doing. And for the customers that do use this, it's a huge boon for their business. Just like they're focused on the primary sale, but that aftermarket sale or that aftermarket reminder is an opportunity that can easily be done with Dynamicweb. And that's out of the box. Moving along here, e-commerce, a lot of things going on in e-commerce. In our major sections like the homepage, e-commerce, PIM, and marketing, we have a dashboard. The dashboard is not only customizable per admin, but you can have these boxes and charts and everything either tied into queries that you set up yourselves, and you can even set these boxes to be intelligent so that if a value like total number of orders is less than whatever your daily order average is, let's say 20 orders. If it's less than that, you can have this box turn red. So you can be at a glance alerted like, okay, it's a little strange today. There's less people ordering, or a little strange today. We have 4 times the amount of orders we normally have. So that's what the dashboard can allow you to do. And here we can see orders. And in my case, I see orders related to 2 different shops. So the little thing about Dynamic Web is starting out of Denmark, it's a small country, and recognizing that they want to service the entire world may not be running only one web shop. You could be running 30 different web shops under one roof with different product catalogs. You might have that set up in your ERP that way. You can support that with Dynamic Web. And we do have large customers that actually do that in other parts of Europe. And then the product catalog, like I mentioned, if they're supporting different web shops, you'd have access to more than one product catalog here. But let's say with one of these here, this one bikes, this one would be 100% backed. This information is 100% driven by your system of record, a CRM, ERP, AXNav, D365, wherever the data comes in from. It's fed over here. We cache it for the obvious reason of performance with the e-commerce site. And if you're running a on-premise ERP version and that server goes down, your website's not going to go down with it. It remains operational. It just means that we can't sync up with it for maybe real-time inventory access or pushing orders into the ERP. And when it comes back online, of course, it's pushed in after. Right, and then we see the structure of things over here. And if we're doing any RMAs, we might see it here. But of course, with an integration, those RMAs are pushed into the ERP or CRM. We can also support quotes, and we have lots of demos to show you where we push a quote into the CRM and things related to that. And quotes could be done by your end user customer, or it could be done by a sales rep, internal or external. So we support that whole variety of relationships. And then recurring orders, this is popular often in B2C or B2Bs that are doing consumables where they are going through paper rapidly. So instead of reordering it all the time, it's reordering automatically every month or every quarter for you. And then here we also have built in the discounts and offers, so setting up promo codes, the statistics like you saw earlier with the user smart searches. We collect a ton of information about their behavior, active behavior or passive behavior, just the fact that they're on the website. And all those statistics, particularly because we're inside the e-commerce section, related to e-commerce like turnover, popular currency, popular credit cards being used, promo codes, are all collected under statistics. And what's nice too about Dynamic Web is that we can export all of this information or expose it to, let's say, Power BI. So you get the benefit of a beautiful dashboard, but tying in other things that are related to e-commerce, but might be happening external to the e-commerce site that might be influencing why you're getting more traffic, because maybe you're doing marketing elsewhere or traditional marketing offline, and that might be affecting traffic on the website. And then we have loyalty points as well as gift cards. And vouchers are simply promo codes that have been serialized, so you can only use it once and it's given to one person at a time. All right, mouthful over there. So let's continue here with PIM, wrapping up real soon with these guys here, shortening it up by the time we get to settings. PIM, again, dashboard, really friendly here. And like Ryan painted earlier, the product information management is used by, if I ask somebody, hey, do you use a PIM? They look at me like, I don't know what a PIM is, or no, because I don't know what a PIM is. But if I said, like, do you use Excel, like a bunch of Excel files to keep track of maybe various vendor product information, and because you support different languages, you have to keep it all in this multiple spreadsheets to keep track of things and are frustrated by that, then they say yes. And that's technically someone who's a PIM candidate. So maybe one of you listening is a PIM candidate. You don't know what a PIM is, but you're certainly already in need of a PIM based on your workflow in the office and how you're utilizing simple databases to full-on databases to keep track of product information, this is what Dynamic Web is capable of doing built in. So it's one less integration to take care of, because that single integration into the entire platform benefits things like the PIM as well. And the truth be told about our PIM, the PIM is really an advanced user interface for teams to access the product catalog, which is here under e-commerce and up here at the top under product catalog. So this UI allows us to structure the folders or subfolders, or the groups, the categories and subcategories, and structure them in a way where the way in which we assign all the way down to the folder level, we assign information, that attributes about products that belong there. So this has to do with women's clothing versus shoes. And even though it's all in the realm of retail or clothing retail, shoes have characteristics related to shoes that don't apply to clothing or don't apply to gloves, etc. And at the folder level is where you're defining that, so that any product you put inside that folder automatically exudes that information that's related to any product inside that folder. So there you start to begin to save time. But then the power here is that we know that PIM isn't just a one-person thing. It's a group effort, a team effort. So in the product information realm, you might have the product manager. Then you have maybe a product engineer, because it's a more complex product. So there's diagrams, specs, operational diagrams or manuals related to it. And then you have the marketing people related to it. So people coming in for different reasons or maintaining different aspects of that product information. So imagine one of the team members is in marketing and they're in charge of the many things, missing meta description data. So when you're on Google, you need this meta description. It just helps Google identify what this product is about. It's not as important as the page itself, but it's nonetheless important to go live with. So here, when I run this query, and this query is created this way over here, where I go here to, I give it a name, I say that find this meta description field and call up the ones that are empty, blank, nothing in there. You don't have to say contains nothing. We actually have a condition called is empty. And in doing so, your net result is, let's say, over 1,400 products that are missing this meta information. So me, as a marketing person on this website, I can say, okay, I need to update this. I have my work cut out for me. What's nice is I can say, all right, I'll go here to the top, select all of these. Let's say I can select more than the 25 that I'm seeing, but I can select more than that here, 1,000. And then I can go here to export to Excel and source this out to my freelancer who's helping me with updating things on the marketing side, and it sends it to them as an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm not giving them full access to the back end to make changes to it. Or I could do it myself and say, all right, of these, we're going to go live. We just put in our company name as the meta description. Not the best practice, but better than nothing. And here, this feature we're using is called bulk edit. So whether it's an image or multiple fields that I'm going to say that for all of these products I selected, update them this way, I can do that using this system here. So in bulk and in mass, I'm capable of updating numerous products at the same time with the same information, obviously, but also reducing the effort needed by other people to update information. So let's say in the bike category, which might make more sense, all of a certain bike are now made in carbon fiber. So I can copy them into the appropriate folder. Maybe it's the carbon fiber folder. And I can highlight all of those bikes. So let's say this one here, just to show you, I'll just do the one. And I can say, well, this one is looking up the meta information because I'm looking up in that section, but bad example. But basically, I could say that all of these bikes are now made of material equals carbon fiber. And that's another way of utilizing this bulk edit search. So we have it built in. The PIM is wonderful. It's being updated rapidly twice a year as the rest of the product, and it's quite powerful. And just to wrap up, marketing is where we bring it all together, where you created content, you have users you've identified as groups or these user smart searches and really pinpointing the right customer, and you can deliver them an email. And the benefit of using Dynamicweb as your email provider for the marketing emails is that when we go here to users, I didn't paint it earlier for you, but these are things that the ERP has, but things like the ERP doesn't know are visited the website, bought a product, which we discussed. But here, if you use email marketing, you can loop in the effort or what's happening on the email side, like did they receive a specific email? Or did they open up a specific or click on a certain link in the email? Now you're really identifying behavior at the email level, which again, unless your email is integrated into your e-commerce, that would be impossible to do or very difficult to hunt down that information. And if you don't have it easy to do, then you're not going to have these automatic, or you're not going to be enticed to send marketing emails, and you're kind of leaving opportunities and money on the table. From a marketing perspective and even a sales perspective. So that's what's all built into Dynamicweb to achieve. And so Ryan, with that, I'm going to maybe pause over here and allow you to have more time for the wrap up.
All right, thanks a lot, Richard. I mean, that was a ton of content, and as Richard was saying, there's a lot of changes that have been made here in the new version in Dynamicweb 9. So if we wanted to go more in depth, of course, we're more than happy to do that with you. So you can just reach out to me. But I think one of the questions that ends up being on everyone's mind when we talk about a new version is how do we do that upgrade? So the first thing you're going to do is going to be to contact me, your customer success manager. You can also contact anybody else within the organization, your project manager, the support team, but I'll be the fastest person or the most effective person that you can get to for the upgrade process. Once we've requested that upgrade, what we're going to do internally is we're going to meet to review the site and see what it's going to take to do this upgrade. Now, we're going to provide you with a quote and a ballpark range to do the upgrade. Historically, those can come between about $5,000 and $18,000, depending on the effort required to do the implementation of that upgrade. This can also vary, of course, based on the amount of custom development that there is in the project. So these are, historical ballparks, but it can be a little bit higher, can be a little bit lower. We plan the whole process in time, and we perform an upgrade on a test that's made available to you during the upgrade process. So we'll make a test site available to you for user acceptance testing. That's all part of the cost of the upgrade. Once we've gone through the testing, we'll agree on an upgrade plan for the production environment. That production environment will be upgraded outside of business hours to make sure that it's not disrupting the business. And then we'll, of course, have a post-go live response team ready to resolve any issues that come up during the process. So if anything comes up after we've gone live, you don't need to worry. We do have a response team that's ready to help out in that process. Now, with all of that said, I know we've thrown a lot of content your way, a lot of information your way. I'm going to open it up to questions. So as I said a little bit earlier, if you do have a question, make sure that you enter it into the questions section of the control panel, and we'll be more than happy to answer. So I'll give you a minute just to enter those in, and then we'll go through the questions. All right, so I've got a question coming in here. So I have some custom development on my current site. Am I going to lose any of it with Dynamicweb 9 upgrade? So the answer is no, you wouldn't lose any of that. So what we're doing is we're upgrading the standard platform, the Dynamicweb platform specifically. We're not making changes to your code that we've done in custom development. So you don't have to worry about that. You're not going to lose any of that code during the upgrade process when you go through to Dynamicweb 9. What we'll do is during the user acceptance test, so we'll make sure that we identify those custom developments and ensure that we're not going to have to worry about losing that. So we will test those as we're going through. So there's another question here. So you mentioned 9 supports different web shops. Is it a single cart integration? So I think I understood the question, so I'm going to try and answer it. And if I don't answer it to what you thought would be the the answer you were expecting, then definitely let me know. So it does support different web shops. So it can have multiple web shops being administered from the same administration panel, and they can all be pointing back to a single integration into your ERP. If we wanted to have multiple integrations, we can have that as well, and we can have those integrations pointing out to multiple web shops. I'm going to have Richard keep me honest. Did I answer that one honestly, Richard?
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, the scenario could be, just to help paint it for the person who asked the question, is like you may have a single company and a product catalog, but you may be supporting different language sites, even though the product catalog might be in English only. But you might have a French-speaking site that has that same catalog. You might have an English-speaking site that has that same catalog. So that conceptually is one way that benefit of having that feature could support that.
Great. So I have one more question coming in, and then we'll wait a couple of minutes in case there's any others. What kind of downtime would my site experience? So to answer that question, the production upgrades completed between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern time, and it's limited downtime. So we try to make sure that the downtime is very minimal, only a few minutes here and there during that period between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. so that it's not impacting the business. Oh, I do have another question that came in here. I think, Richard, this one's going to be for you. For permission sets for internal or back-end users, can you set up multiple custom permission sets? Say I wanted to let support staff create user credentials, but not access anything else. Is that possible?
So you, is that in the dialogue? The second part of that, they wanted to, hang on a second, I think I have the dialogue open here. The second half, I wanted to let support staff create user credentials, but not access anything else. Okay, yeah, so two ways of doing that. Either the support staff is given access to the back end of Dynamicweb, or through some other portal means they're given access. So they're not given access to Dynamicweb, the back end, but they're given access to this particular function of creating user credentials for the platform so customers can access their portal. So it can be done. It's either done inside the back end of Dynamicweb by giving these, as you call them, staff to create these user credentials through the back end, or a portal is created in order to support that effort if you don't want to give them full access to the back end. Hope that answers the question.
Great. And then further to the question about the different web shops with a single cart integration. So I have 2 e-commerce sites and I want to integrate into a single cart. So I think I understand where this is going. I think I've seen this example on Old Navy, Banana Republic, and I know they have a couple of other brands. So it's multiple URLs with a single shopping cart. So that would require some development there to do that. And so what I'll do is I'll follow up with you on that one, and we can talk more about that and see what the effort would be. But that wouldn't require an upgrade to do. That would be specifically development to do that work. All right. So no, you're very welcome. Yeah, so if there's, yeah, very good questions. Almost stumping us. That's why we have to be 2 here. If it was just me by myself, you'd definitely stump me. So all of that being said, I think that's all the questions that we have. So we're going to end this a little bit early. So we'll give you back 8 minutes of your time. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us here today. We really appreciate it. It will be a continuing series that we're going to do. We're going to spend more and more time going through these different webinars with you. And so look out for more emails, look out for more invitations, and I will be following up with you with the recording of the webinar here today. And if you'd like to have a copy of the PowerPoint, feel free to reach out to me at the credentials you see here on screen. I'll be more than happy to do that. Richard, I want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And once again, thank you everybody for joining.